How can board games help us better understand, strengthen, and connect with the human brain? Today, I'm joined by Gaelle Wermus, creator of Synaptic Symphony and the founder of the Resilient Brain. Welcome to episode 178 of Meeple to Meeple. Thanks for joining. Gail's going to explore this fascinating question by blending creativity, science, and human-centered innovation. She has developed projects that challenge traditional boundaries between art, technology, cognition, and well-being. Her work invites us to think differently about resilience, not as a fixed trait, but as something we can actively cultivate through experience, design, and learning. In this conversation, we will explore the inspiration behind her game on Kickstarter, Synaptic Symphony, the mission of the resilient brain, and what the future might look like when design becomes a tool for cognitive health, adaptability, and human flourishing. Gail, thanks for joining. How are you?
Thank you. Good. Amazing intro.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to have you on. It's been a while since we've had a chat, so
Hmm.
this is a really interesting topic. It's one that affects all of us, and it's something that we haven't really talked about. So I'm really excited to bring this topic to light.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think we're trailblazing into bridging that neuroscience board
Yep.
game. We know that board games are really useful
Uh-huh.
to build adaptability, conflict resolution, communication. Like we know the amazing power of board games in mental health. We're putting it to a different notch here. Like we're bringing actually the science of neuroscience, neuroplasticity to the theme. And we are also testing it with clinicians and third party people to actually notice what happens when families and people play it and what skills they're developing through real life. So that's exciting.
It really is, and I can't thank you enough for bringing us to our hobby and bringing this to the world. I think this is really important. But before we get into the game, I want to ask you just a little bit about yourself, right? Before you became a board game creator, what was your relationship with board games? And what was the first modern board game that you ever played?
So I don't know if it's a modern board game, really. I mean, when I was a kid, we used to play library. And so would that be considered modern? I don't know, but that's my real intro when I was
Okay.
like 8, 9 years old in France because I'm French.
Right.
And I don't think the culture in France is really doing much board games. It's growing like anywhere else, but board games are not really a big deal there. And I moved in 2008. I moved to Colorado. I did a master's here at CSU and met a guy and fell in love. And then it was like, let's go to France. And I was like, I don't want to live in France. So we stayed here. And that's how I came to the US. And an early, like a more recent was then Catan, of course. Like
Of course.
that was like the big game that we played more as adults.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Catan. Everybody. Right?
Yeah.
That's everyone's story. Whether you love it or hate it, it was so pivotal to our
Yeah.
beginnings in this hobby and growing our passion.
Completely.
Yep. So, were there any board games that inspired you? Like you were like, "Oh, I need to make a board game," or before you got into the concept of neuroplastic plasticity, is that right?
Yeah.
Which is the
Mm-hmm.
word I couldn't remember before we started. But before you embraced that as you're gonna make this game, was there a board game that you had played or several board games that you played that you're like, "I wanna make a board game?"
No, I came as a black sheep to this industry. I came, so it was out of necessity. My background is resilience. I came to the US and I was like, oh my gosh, the food system here, and I studied a lot of the plant science and I was like, I'm not really comfortable feeding myself with whatever. And
Yeah.
so Here in Colorado, we live on a little hobby farm. We raise our own pigs and chickens and turkeys, and we have gardens. We don't feed ourselves 100% from it, but my lifestyle is resilience. And also love for prosciutto. And I was like, there's no way any Americans know how to do prosciutto, so I'll just make it myself, you know? That was kind of, and then my two kids arrived. Now they're 9 and 11. And I saw this rising crisis of young kids having depression, anxiety, and mostly in the male community, it's hitting them harder. And I've unfortunately throughout my young life, in my 20s, I've lost many friends from suicidal. And then it just woke me up as raising two boys. I was like, oh my gosh, how can I equip them for this life in this modern world? What is the most important? So I wasn't a board gamer at all at that time. And I started studying like the psychic, the like, mental health, like what is something I can teach my kids, equip them. And so I went into this deep dive for 3 years of resilience. And I'm a scientist, so I read a lot of publications and I talk to a lot of PhDs that are in that subject, a lot of clinicians, and many inspired me, like Rick Hansen, Dan Siegel from the Mindsight Institute, Bull Taylor. Like I read a lot, I exchanged with them, and I realized that resilience was the most important skill we can teach.
You've been talking a lot about resiliency. I've heard you've mentioned it multiple times, just a few
Yeah,
moments. Can you talk about what is resilience?
sure. Resilience is our inner ability to deal with change in a smooth way without going into one side would be chaotic and overwhelming, or the other side would be rigid behavior. So when something comes to us, like a change, a big news, often we go into like imagine a river. And if we're smooth and it's going, and sometimes it's really fast and it goes like rapids, but sometimes it's slower. And that's a resilience, moving through the flow of life. But sometimes we are not equipped. We don't have enough resiliency built in. And we go into one side of the bank of the river is like chaos. We're completely overwhelmed on this neuroscience point of view, is like too much information we cannot process. We cannot think through, floated with emotions, and we start behaving completely, crazy. And on the other side, some people react to those change in those events in a very rigid way. They closed off, they don't allow more sensory kind of input, and they just close off completely. And you can tell when someone in that, like they're extremely rigid, they're always like against everything, so like their body is closed off. And resilience is really this capacity to kind of manage those changes without being completely, you know, in those two areas, chaos or rigidity, and
Okay.
and to still keep moving and keep overcoming whatever is thrown at you.
So it requires a lot of emotional flexibility.
Yeah, emotional flexibility, mental skills, like all the 12 that we've set up in our game. So, when I studied that, I'm a simplifier. I take deep, complex science and I love simplifying it. I've always done that all my life. Because it just makes more sense for me. And so I read and read so much, and then I developed my own model of simplification, which was 12 skills that we need to work on, like empathy, courage, respect to yourself, to others, and perseverance, like other skills that are innate, that no school or anyone tells you about, how to practice, but they're so important. And once you repeat them and practice them over the course of your life, you actually become extremely resilient. And and so when all of this model of resilience, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do my PowerPoint and teach my kids how to be resilient. And then I was like, that's not going to work. They're not going to be lectured. They don't care about what mom says. And so I needed to find a way to engage them. And it became obvious that it was through play through games that you can engage your kids. And when we're playing, we're way more open to receive any new ideas or concepts. And so this is how I came up with a board game. I was like, okay, we're going to do a board game. So what else? Like, so then I went to Gen Con, and that was my first experience because I don't have friends that are like big board gamers. And I arrived and there was a culture shock. I was like, oh my gosh, that is like big, and there's so much going on. And I talked to plenty of publishers and passionate people at that conference. I was like, okay, so I'm Gail and I want to do a board game about resilience. And they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. And are you a designer? I was like, no. I'm searching for a designer. I have no idea what the mechanics and what to do. And someone at, I think it was from Brain Genius, they were like, I know a guy that is like his forte is to take biology and like to put into mechanics. And I was like, oh my God, this is the guy I need. So I partnered with game designers. And so I'm not the big board game design person. I'm just the crazy that had this idea. I come from the mental health kind of like,
Sure.
yeah.
So, what for you, what challenge seemed impossible when you first started designing the game?
The biggest challenge was we needed to remove completely this idea of learning. If you make a game to learn something, it's going to be the most boring ever. And so we needed to hide all the learning into the mechanics, into the play, so that it's like the stealth science, like it's completely hidden. No one is learning anything. Everyone is engaged in the mechanics. And then if you step back, you're like, "Oh, this is interesting." If you practice things like the resource tokens, like represent eating good food, sleeping well, being present, hugging someone. And when you put them together, you build new neurons on a certain part of your brain and you gain levels of respect or certain skills or empathy. Hmm. And so people looking into like a little deeper, they're actually, oh my gosh, this is how you build a skill. You just need to repeat a certain action enough time so that you master it. Like forgiveness, giving a hug to someone, like this is a good way to forgive someone, or listen actively. Or so that was the biggest challenge to make sure it was never going to be a learning game.
Right. And that's brilliant. I think that came out when I play tested the prototype you gave. We definitely got that sense. And for those of you who aren't watching on YouTube and listening, Gail was holding up some of the components from the game. She's got these three-dimensional tokens of neurons and skill tokens. It's really
Always the shape
cool.
of a brain.
It is really cool because you've got this the board has the sketch of look at the little three-dimensional brains. Oh my
Yep.
gosh, that is fantastic. So you're trying to connect the neurons and I forgot what the other ones are called.
The dendrites.
The dendrites.
You're
And
going to be a neuroscientist by the end of this call, by the way.
yes,
Yeah.
I will. And you're putting these together on the board, and it should be worth noting as Gail is holding up the pieces to show how they connect. This is a cooperative game
Hmm.
where we're all working together trying to make all of these neural pathways in this brain by being more resilient through the course of, I believe is there like an event deck or something where you face
Yeah.
events? Yes.
So we got, in this era of AI, everyone is asking us, are your image AI? I'm like, no, it's a beautiful illustrator from France that we picked. And she is like putting just amazing drawing on this J character that is going through just funny, crazy events. One thing that we had to add, because we are on the topic of resilience, people are like, oh my God, this is going to be maybe not boring, but so sad. And so we
Yeah.
put humor in it. We even did a partnership with Grand Lion, the comedian,
Yes.
and he did the analysis paralysis mini expansion for the Kickstarter. I was like, great, you need to give me the best, like events, challenges that board gamers, real ones, because I'm not, so I don't know, are like, finding. And I'm not going to tell them because they're glorious and
Yeah.
it will be a surprise when you open up. But he worked hard on like finding some sweet, without judgment, that the board gamers have some interesting like the analysis paralysis, type of like decision making, or when something is on the boxes wrongly, with the wrong font, or
Oh,
like
yeah.
people get triggered by so little in this community, and it's glorious.
It is so true. Anything can trigger a gamer. We think in terms of, and we just got back from Origins Game Fair
Yes, yeah.
just last week. So in our conversations, it's like we can have an entire conversation in board game mechanics, right?
Yep.
It's like we reference, it's really interesting because I knew that this interview was coming up. So it was framing a lot of the way I was looking at and having the conversations with the other content creators and gamers. We frame our emotions through the language of board game mechanics.
Yeah. No, you
Yeah.
guys are, I mean, your brain, the first time I did a convention play testing a game, I was like, oh my gosh. I First, they were like looking at the events, and then they were looking at the resources, and they were like, how many resources, how many of this, and they were calculating the chance and the probability of making this move versus those, and the analysis paralysis was real. Like no
Yeah.
one wanted to start doing an action before they got the strategy perfect. And I was like, guys, you need to do something here. Like, it's been 30 minutes, like, and they're just like, okay, we have a 22% chance of this versus that. And I was like, oh, and they tried to break it and break it over and over.
Yes.
And our game designers did really well because they didn't break it. Yet we still went through like 2.5 years of deep improvement for the UX and for so many things changed. But it was, yeah, I was amazed by your guys' brain, how you can be obsessed by trying to break those rules and those mechanics, to prove us that this wasn't balanced or whatnot.
Yep.
It was an
Yep.
amazing journey. Yeah.
So on the flip side, what surprised you the most while translating these scientific concepts into gameplay?
Surprised me that I didn't have any skills in board gaming. I didn't play that many board games. What surprised me is that I didn't know to know much more. I just needed to find the right people.
Yeah.
And that's something we often forget as founders of companies, or it's not the how, it's the who. Who can help me do something? And it takes a lot of great communication and perseverance to be able to work through. This was my baby, so I had so many ideas, and then working with the team, because at the end we are 5 or 6 working intensely on this game. And the beauty of bringing so many different brains to the table and
Yep.
trying to conceive this, like I'm the woohoo, like I'm all over the place and the idea grill. And then some people are just like closed off and like, well, this won't work, Gail, like because of this and this. And I'm so glad they're on my team because they kind of ground me and put me to more reality. And yeah, that was surprising to see how different we are in our team and how we came up with such a complete board game that is really unique. Because and this is one of our challenge. Some people are like, well, is this only for play therapists? And there is a version for play therapists to change the mechanics so that it's shorter game, and that you
Okay.
can actually, there's added tools so that you can really open up the kid to talk more about
Yeah.
some events, and or link an event to an emotion and whatnot. But the main game is really not for play therapists, and you're not going to feel like you're going through therapy. And teaching that or telling people that is hard because they're like, well, but you're telling me I'm going to improve my well-being and learn about resilience, yet like it doesn't feel like a therapy. So what is this? Is it,
Yeah.
we're new to this, so it's hard to find our audience and to really tell them what it is about.
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
some sense. So that's a challenge when you do something new. Yeah.
So true and well said. This might be, or at least we call it a board game podcast, but I had this conversation a lot at Origins. It's really not a board game podcast. It's really a board gamer podcast. I'm
Mm,
more interested in the stories of the people, right?
yeah.
Because games wouldn't exist without the people, and our
Yeah.
stories are what make up our community. And so I really think about that and I really connect with my guests. And to be fair, you're only a guest for the 1 hour that you're on air. Otherwise, you're family before and after, right? That's just that's just how I
Yeah.
feel. I have a very
Yeah.
strong emotional connection to everyone who's on my show and so many people who aren't. I found myself in an interesting position one night at Origins where we had like 2 tables, and I realized 6 or 7 people had all been guests on my show. Like,
Wow.
I didn't
That is
plan that,
so
but it
cool.
was it was very cool. It's like, "Oh, this is kinda neat."
Yeah.
So it really is about the who, like you said.
Yeah.
It's it's definitely
And
about the
now
people.
that we can be so creative with board games
Yeah,
and it doesn't take much, I mean, it does take a lot of energy and whatnot, but with Kickstarter and this small team can really put something together and create very innovative games. And the people behind it, it brings more diversity in the type of people that are creating those games. And indeed, that community, this is what like it gives me goosebumps. Like discovering your guys' community just opened me up to so much.
right.
It's such a loving community. It's such a deep community too, and very, very like generous with the way they interact with people in giving feedback. In yeah, I'm so excited in some sense. Who knows where Synaptic Symphony is going to go, but just the fact that I discovered more people in the game industry was just such an amazing experience. And it's not, as you said, the game. It's not like, oh, I discovered this game and this game. It's like, actually, no, like playing with the people is the most exciting. Like
Yes,
getting to know those people.
yes. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
What is one neuroscientific misconception that you hope players will walk away from after playing Synaptic Symphony and
That's,
understand it differently?
yeah. I think something that we know yet we forget is that at any moment in time, we can change something into our brain from inside our brain. Neuroplasticity is always happening. It doesn't matter the age, it doesn't matter your origin story. You can always build up new skills that will ultimately lead to new behavior, which will lead to new outcome in your life. And we know kind of that, but yet this is so true. And I want people to really come out of the game with the fact and the insurance that any hard things in their life was just an opportunity to learn and grow. Like, it's not, we have to stop this victim, like, oh my gosh, it always happened to me, but it's because I'm here like this, and my parents dropped me when I was a kid, and and my mom's mom was a drinker, so of course my mom was like this, and early, like, no, like, we have to stop this. We have all origin stories, and if you think deeply of the most inspiring people in your life or on Instagram or wherever, they've went through some really, really deep shit.
Mm. Yes, yes.
And why now they're so inspiring? Because they came out of it, they learned something from it, and this is what resilience. All those challenges are just there for you to practice some skills. Yes, they're hard. And it's like it's like, using like you at the gym and like lifting those is really hard and it kind of suck. But then you build those muscles.
Yeah.
And so life events are just a playground of opportunities to learn and grow. And if at any point when you were going through your life as a board gamer and you were putting your play mode as a problem solver, you see an opportunity of like each time oh, my car broke down. There's an option of like, it's going to cost me a month rent, blah, blah, blah. Or there's the board game player mode that is like, that's an interesting challenge to problem solve right now. How can I get out of this situation with the least expense, with the most fun? And
Yeah.
like, let's start to live a life like this. Like,
Yeah.
we are doing it in the board games. We're excited to have an issue, but somehow when life happens, we're like, this is horrible.
Yeah. So horrible.
I know. Like, I'll give you an example of I wasn't a board gamer before, yet I've always my life I've been a player. And a few years ago, I was in the Toronto area. I was driving my old Subaru, and my old Subaru broke down on the highway. And it was kind of a catastrophe. I'm like, big cars coming out, like super
Yeah.
fast, and I'm looking at smoking. But I always have my play mode in place, so most of the time, I'm like, okay, let's get ready some for adventure. Somehow I jumped the fence, which I was like really proud of myself. I was bleeding all over because like jumping the fence was pretty tough, but I was so proud of myself to like jump that fence to get out of the highway. And I go to this store and I ask every stranger coming in the store, like, can you help me get to like a car repair shop, blah, blah. And I met this dude that is super nice. He's like, sure. And so he drive me there. I'm telling them where my car is, and I have no budget to have
Right.
a repair shop paying for it. I need to do it on my own. Like there's no options there. And so I YouTube, he tells me what he thinks the problem is. And so then we drag my car to this guy's that is complete stranger. And he's like, okay, so you got the part, you got the car parked at his garage, like at his house. He's like, people will think it's really weird for me to bring a 20-year-old, like, or by then I was a little older, to my house. So we'll say that you're my daughter's friend. And by the way, I need to leave to go see my daughter in Montreal. So here's the key of my house. And good
Uh,
luck, like, and I was like, oh, really? And me play mode? I'm like, I'm still careful and I can sense my intuition tells me that he's really honest. And then I'm like, okay. And so he leaves and I put my YouTube video to try to fix this alternator by myself.
my
And guess
goodness.
what? Of course, like this, I'm in a street where all those guys, all those houses, those people work in the Ford, like building cars,
Sure.
like in the neighborhood. And they're like, no, 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 here. And they're all like from Poland or they don't speak really English. And like, no, 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 can't walk on you. No. And I'm like, no, this is my challenge. And so they're like trying to get me out. But that whole weekend, and then I'm like, okay, I need to give this dude back something. So I try to mow his garden, but I cannot start the machine. And so then his neighbor is mowing the garden. And like, it was just insane, but all of this to say that this was going to be a crazy challenge. Now it's a really funny story, but when we start playing with it and always being, balanced, like being careful also, but some magic happens out of a challenge. And there's always opportunities to just show up and prove to yourself that you can be confident. You're way stronger than you think. And those can be fun.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Man, wow, that is a crazy story. Whew.
That was fun. No,
Oh my
so if
gosh.
if your alternator breaks down, I know how to repair it.
There you go. Gail's got your back. So
Totally.
the game itself is fully cooperative. Was using that cooperative mechanic, was it the right design choice for this subject from the very beginning, or did it evolve into it?
So it had to be co-op. It had to be co-op because I'm way too competitive, and each time I play competitive games with my kids, it's like the French mama in me is like, "Take that, kids!" Like, sorry. And then
Okay.
the kid is like drama. Everyone is screaming, crying. It's hard to play competitive without giving in, you know. I
Right.
want them to experience the real thing and to fight back, but at a certain age, it's hard for them to do so. So yes. However, I have a question for you. What
Sure.
is the main problem that you find in co-op games?
So it's called quarterbacking or table captaining, where one person has an alpha personality and they just tell everyone what they should do on their
Yeah,
terms, thus making all the players unnecessary.
yeah,
How
yeah.
did you how did you
Yeah,
tackle that?
yeah, because we experienced that right away. I was quarterbacking, and
Yeah.
then my kid invented because we co-designed, including our kids.
Okay.
And my kid was like, you know, it would be nice for you to just shut up. And I was like, oh, that's such a good idea. So here we have brain freeze. Brain freeze is a very nice little token that anyone at any moment can use. And it's a gentle, like, sorry, can't talk for a whole round. Take this. And then it's kind of funny because the person is like, but I was the best at the strategy. And then people that haven't been practicing much of like making decision for the strategy are left by themselves and they realize, oh my gosh, yeah, indeed, she was pretty good at it, but she cannot talk for an entire round. So now we need to figure it out. So they're trying to figure out, you try like a still quarterback, you're trying to give size, but then it gives like a pause and it makes the person that was quarterbacking kind of reflect on the fact that, yeah, maybe they were doing too much and actually show that the other players can figure it out really well and it rebalanced the game. Because really, if they continue, they're getting another one. Like it's unlimited. And they it's like everyone is laughing and that because it's like, oh no, I got one again. I talked too much. And so we've put it in place and it works really well
Yeah.
because it really calms because you don't want to get one. You really want to talk.
It it
So
also it also, if I've been paying attention and understanding everything correctly, it gives the quarterback, the table captain, an opportunity to practice resilience.
yeah, yeah, totally. It's
Yeah.
like real time, like, oh, now I can just listen. And so I'm
Yeah.
actually seeing in others like opportunity that they're actually not as
Right.
dumb as I thought. They're
Yeah.
capable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Was there a mechanic or a feature of the game that was really difficult to just get right?
Well, the like balance of how much you win versus how much you lose. It's one of the issue, right? In co-op games is that you're against the game. If it's too easy the first time, you're not really going to play it. If it's way too hard, it's like, do I ever have a chance to win?
Yeah.
And so we did like a engine building where it's really hard at first because we wanted to mimic what life is if you have zero skills. If you are trying to run for the first time, you're going to suffer a lot for those first few weeks trying to run, and then it's going to get easier. And so we wanted to mimic that reality of life, building skills. And then by the end, we always ask, or when we're doing the play testing by mid game, do you think you're going to lose or win? Everyone thinks they're going to win. And there's just this false hope of like, oh my gosh, we're so close, we're so close. And then you just know only at the end. So it accelerates and you're like, no, oh, we're just missing one action. Oh, we're missing two actions. And it's always really close to lose it. And it's not easy. It's really, you have to accept that you're not going to win each time. And the biggest predictability of winning the game is how you communicate with your team.
Mm,
We've noticed like people that are not that good at strategy in general, if they take the time to listen to everyone's perspective before taking decisions as a group, they win. And if one person quarterback and is really leading most because he sees only from one angle, it's most likely I can tell within a few minutes if they're going to
huh.
win on or lose just by the way they respect and listen to each other playing the game.
Interesting.
I
That's
know, it's
interesting.
really cool.
Were there any elements that you really loved but didn't make the final version of the game?
No, it was really early on that we had mechanic. The the biggest thing was putting in place those neurons, those
Hmm.
3D.
Yeah.
Like now that I do convention, people call me the neuron lady because I
Mhm.
have them as earrings
Yes,
and like they just remember the game with the neurons because they're so cool.
they are cool.
Yeah, yeah.
They're
It's like
yep.
little Legos snapping with each other. Yeah.
Okay. So you just designed perfectly, and there's nothing that didn't make it in. So
Yeah, it was, well, somehow I think it was a luck, and it's
yeah,
not my. I think it was a luck that from the beginning we we just put all those components together, and then we just had to arrange the balance of the resource tokens, like how many and that.
sure.
But yeah, there was not much tweaking or things that didn't make the final. Yeah. Which is, yeah, I mean, the game designers, so it's a game designer, Steve Gordon, and a product inventor, David Pitcher, who invented the neurons.
Okay.
And the three of us for like 2 years, we had calls every single week to tweak things, and they would come up with mechanics. And I was like, well, but from a neuroscience perspective, this is completely wrong. We cannot do that mechanic. And they're like, okay, we'll come back next week with another idea. Yeah.
What's your favorite moment that can happen during the game that you just love when this card
Mm,
appears or you know?
I think it's when a life event connects to a personal story.
Mm,
And so the person reads it, and there's always in that game, because you pull at least 12 cards, one per month for each round. And there's always that moment where someone says, oh my gosh, that totally happened to me. And then they say the story, and we're all laughing. And because you have an option in those cards, like if you fail that event, there's like a bad behavior, or if you overcome that event, then it tells you a good behavior that you could have with that situation. And it's time to like, yeah, I didn't handle that really well. And then it
yeah.
tells you, like we had one, the passive sticky note of the roommate that is really noisy. And so she just put that sticky note like, can you be less noisy? But never had a real conversation with that dude. And then he got kicked out, and she's like, yeah, maybe I could have handled it a little
Uh,
differently. Like, but it's just those moments of like internal like awareness of like, and some stories that come up, yeah, are just
yeah.
so funny. It opens up to people realizing, yeah, we're really not perfect. And we all have some of those challenges in our life. And
Right.
it's what makes us human. So that
Yes.
like human thing
Yes.
is, yeah. Or just people be like, oh my gosh, you had that too happen to you? It's like, yeah. Like we have one is the cat poop crisis where
Hmm.
the cat just pooped. And like in one single night, we had this one dude be like, oh my gosh, like, yes, like I had this girlfriend that my cat hated, and he would poop on her pillow because she brought her pillow to my house. And I felt so bad because he was doing it each time she would come in the house. Like that first thing he sees her, go poops on her pillow. And it's just like, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds appropriate for feline behavior.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
That is that
Depending
that
per male.
that is what we call feline resilience right there.
Absolutely. It's why we have a whole like expansion of Pause and Panic that
Yeah.
talks about all those crazy things that happen with pets, because I mean, sometimes they just drives us nuts.
Yep. So you talked about your first time at Gen Con, right?
Yeah,
And the play testing and how that was a real shock and you had to kind of adjust for a moment, exercise a little resilience and dive
yeah,
in. What feedback from your play testers? Was there a moment when you realized that this project was something special?
yeah. I think it's the aha moments people had that I thought was just so basic, yet it was just like brought to the table. Like, we gather resource tokens and then we arrange them a certain way so that we can build up skills. And this woman that was pretty heavy and she's just kept gathering healthy food. And so at one point she's like, well, is that a sign? Do I need to eat healthy food? And what's the point for a brain? She had this attitude. And then after she like finishes her sentence, she's like, oh, is eating well will help my brain? And everyone is like, yeah. And she's like, huh, I've never thought about this. And then she's like, oh, so the other is like sleeping well. That does this help with brain health? And it's basic, but I think bringing the foundation of what you need in life to be healthy and have a
Yeah.
healthy brain is pretty important. We're just talking basic and foundation. So when people have little aha moment like this, or another one that is powerful is the board you will notice is in four. Let me show it really quick.
No.
So it's in four different quadrants.
Quadrants. Yep.
And people are like, how come there's like four different parts in your brain? And I'm like, well, because of the latest neuroscience, we discovered that we have like a left side and a right side, and they barely connect. And what we're discovering is that we have kind of four internal modes that are almost with different characteristic and temperament. We have a work voice that like pushes us to like do schedule, pay our bills, and do the stressful day to day to be financially stable and whatnot. It's kind of a stressful voice, and you might hear it sometimes. And then you have the protect voice that is there to protect you emotionally, physically. And this part is like a tiny little kid in you that is afraid of everything, that will put tantrum, and it will never grow up. Even if you're an adult, this part is always there and will
Yeah.
never grow up. And so if you have a tantrum or meltdown and you're in your 50s, that's okay. It's just that protect voice that is just really scared of something, and you just need to give it a cuddle. And then you have the play mode that is always in the present moment, wants to play, wants to be curious and do adventures, and then you have the love mode that is maybe sometimes super quiet in people's head. And it's just this full accepting part of you and mode that just loves you as you are and you don't need to do anything. And you can feel that part really activating when you do walk outside, or when you pray if you're religious, or when you meditate. And people discovering that they have an internal team in their brain that can help them every day, that if there's a situation, they can be like, right now it's actually my protect voice freaking out. What is my play voice saying in this situation?
Mm.
What is my love voice saying? And that's such a good tool. Like my kids like often talk in that way. They give it names. Like my play mode is called Gaelle because this is the silly name my parents gave me when I was a kid and going crazy little silly thing. And then you just discover you have a full team, even if sometimes you feel alone, you feel totally lost in life. Your brain is designed to have an internal team that can look at from different perspectives and help you to move forward. And it's in the design. And when we introduce the game, we kind of talk a tiny bit about it. We're not going to go deep in it yet. Just that thing is like, yeah, I can tell my work mode is really like mad at this person because they did this way, and but we can laugh at it. It's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's just my work mode. It's not my entire me that is like mad at this person.
Do you think for those who ask the question, oh, there's four, why are there all these voices? There's four quadrants. Do you think it has something to do with the fact that here in the United States, we have, I mean, I remember growing up, we talk about either you're a left brain person or you're
Yeah,
a right brain person. And so everything's this dichotomy, right?
yeah,
And even in our society, right? Social media, everything just kind of promotes this you either like or you dislike.
Yeah.
Everything
Yeah.
everything is just, and so what we've done is we've abandoned nuance in so many
Yeah.
ways.
We have
And
we
yeah,
have abundant nuance. We have also put us ourselves in a little box
mm,
where if you're really good at math and scheduling stuff, you're left brain
yeah,
and it doesn't make you creative at all. No, that's not true at all. It's
no,
like you have a other activated part of the left brain for the protect and work mode. And maybe you need to activate a little more some compassion, love, and play in your life to feel balance. Resilience is all about balancing those four different characters so that you always kind of navigate. They're your internal team. You cannot just be a math guy or an artist. Even an artist, they need to make money, so they need to activate their work side to like make a living. Like so this integration is really what makes you extremely strong in life and recognizing, oh, I have a very protect mode. Like I have huge anxiety. I cannot go in a crowd with people. Like it's okay. It's not your entire. It's just the other activated protect mode and try to compensate with the others. Try to make those other voices a little stronger. And what could you do, Build up a little courage from the play mode. What would that look like? Courage,
right.
calling a friend is very courageous thing sometimes.
Sometimes.
No,
Yeah. So let's talk about being courageous. What would success look like for Synaptic Symphony 5 years from now?
it's already a success. I have really, so my play mode,
Yeah.
present moment, is super active in me. And sometimes it leads me to really bad behaviors and actions like spending all my money and be like, oh, what is happening tomorrow, So it's why I have a husband, but he's my balance with it. But so far, the success has been in the connections we've been building. I mean, a few weeks ago, I had the privilege of play testing it with Dan Siegel in California at his place. Dan Siegel is, 68 now. He's the master. He's wrote so many books. I probably have some here. The Whole Brain Child and other books. He's such a deep, profound academic person and clinicians that understand how the brain works. And he was curious about a game and we play tested it. Like that was just like huge. We'll see if he endorses publicly one day or not, but it doesn't matter. Me being in a room for 2 hours with him, play testing him with him, and having him giggle at those live events, and the wording I used in the game was just like so precious.
Yeah.
But he's a famous guy. There's other people that I've met, like you, that are just making my life so much richer, that it's an amazing success. Of course, at the end, we want financial like feedback because we put our heart and our savings and everything on the table. And so we hope to be paid one day. But
One day.
we also know that board game is not really where you make money and it's okay. Like I think the success for me has already been achieved in the connection, the aha moment of people. The one big moment that happened with a play test in at Unpub last year was playing with this neurodivergent kid. He was 7 year old and he saw the game. The presence is so bright and colorful. He saw this from far and he just ran to us and he had his earphone to cancel the noise. He was very fragile in his like overwhelming with so much sensories and noise out. But he was like, "Oh," like so he gestured to his parents like, I want to play that. And his mom was like, I'm sorry, like he really wants to play. Is it okay? I'm like, yeah, why not? He's like, he's not going to stay. Like he cannot sit down for a really long period of time because he's neurodivergent. And I'm like, it's okay, just let's try to play. And somehow a play therapist came on the table. And then we had my husband playing and his dad. And we read the rule book, which is, hey, I'm Jay. I'm a dude like anyone else, and I have problems, and I'm kind of like you, but I need your help because I haven't been dealing with life really well recently, and I just need your help to build a strong brain so that I can overcome events with more ease and confidence. And the kid, you could tell that he was like, "Oh, I'm going to help Jay. I'm going to
Yeah.
do it." He just connected so deeply with the mission of helping his brain. And within 10 minutes, he removed his earphone. He started like interacting. And because of his divergent, he was amazing at the strategy. And they won the game, which is kind of actually impossible to win the first time you play. But he was just extremely smart. And the mom was almost crying in the back. She was like, "Oh my gosh, like I like this is amazing. We want to buy this." I'm like, "Well, it's not ready." But moments like this, I know it will happen more and more with neurodivergent people in general, or just this hope, but also this understanding of how the brain is built, and that it's never like a lost cause. Like you can always build your brain at any moment, and we're just doing this on the game that we learn. So in 5 years, I do hope to bring more to have like a big network of play therapists that use that game in the sessions, but also introduce it to families that need more connection and more off-screen time and do something that is fun as a
Yeah.
family or as friends. Yeah, that's then my hope. But so far, I'm really happy with, you know,
Yep.
where we're at right now. Like we're halfway our Kickstarter and we crushed our goals and yeah.
So, speaking of Kickstarter,
Mhm.
shifting gears just a little bit,
Yeah.
what was the most unexpected aspect of launching on Kickstarter for you that shocked you?
Everything. Everything. I mean, this is the roller coaster. Like
Yeah.
we work with Lunch Boom and other consultants and they got us prepared and we were like, we're doing this. And I was in France. I wanted this moment because it's for me it's like almost a third baby that I'm putting out in the world. It's a
Sure.
very creative thing and
Yeah.
very personal. And so I wanted to be in my little girl's bedroom in an old house where I grew up in France. And so this is where we were to push the green button for the Kickstarter. And it was just this big, we wanted to do a ceremony and push or like a little ritual with my kids to push the button together. And oh no, like there was other plans. So an email like was sent at the wrong time an hour before we were supposed to do it, and we were receiving emails back. Like I look and people are like, "Hey, I received like I see I received your email that the Kickstarter is online, but when I click, it's still coming soon." And I'm, "Why did you receive this? Oh my gosh, all the emails have been sent." And we're talking about 7,000 emails.
My
Oh my gosh.
goodness.
And so then my husband was just in the draft of the Kickstarter page. We were not ready. We still had 1 hour of reviewing. And then we're like, "Oh, fuck it. Let's push it." And after that, just so many people coming at us with questions. And, in the first few days, we raised only like 10,000 or something. And in some sense, I'm so glad it wasn't 10 times bigger because there was no bandwidth to answer all the questions. And because, yeah, we just didn't know what we were doing. So it's fun though. It's so fun. Then you discover that some people are so into it that they're telling everyone and they're like becoming your super fan and organizing like playtime in the local libraries to gather more excitement about it. Yeah, but
Yep.
it's a roller coaster when you don't know what you're doing. Like, I get it why everyone was telling us find a publisher instead of doing it on your own. Yeah,
Yeah.
I get it. But because this was such new concept, all the big publishers that we've talked to, and they had interest, they wanted to put pirates on it. They wanted to
Right.
kind of lower the level of the foundation of the neuroscience, to put some pirates or just like to switch to be in their portfolio. And I wasn't ready for that. Like, I really want the mission of the game
Mm.
to really hit. But then we'll see.
So, what advice do you give to someone who's designing a game or thinking about designing a game and they're going to have that debate and think about launching on Kickstarter?
You have to have some solid shoulder. Spend probably 3 times more than what you have budgeted, and
No.
yeah, it's way more expensive than any anything out there that we thought. But also, when you're ready to do the Kickstarter, if you can take 2, 3 weeks off to really focus on that, because you need to be your time and your energy, you need to be fully focused to be able to hit all the, BGG and comments and forums, and to really activate your community. So yeah, it's um, some people I remember telling me, "Oh, you will see, Gail, it's a full-time job. There's no way you can still do your normal job." Yeah, it's challenging for
Yep.
sure.
Yep. So, it's going to consume
Yeah.
your time and your money. So, be ready.
Yeah, it's yeah, don't I mean, we're not maybe the best example for this. Some people have done like botany, they've just crazy, and they were able to make it their main job. But it is, yeah,
Yeah.
it is really hard.
Gail, thank you so much for your time sharing this story, your story, the story of Synaptic Symphony. I really appreciate it. I know it's still on Kickstarter. Tell everyone where they can find Synaptic Symphony, where they can learn more about the resilient brain. And if they have any
Yeah.
questions for you, where can they find you?
Yeah, the Kickstarter page is open and still will be accepting late pledges as well. So if you type Synaptic Symphony, it's hard to spell, but what a cool name. And then you can find it on Kickstarter. It's closing on July 8th, 2026. And theresilientbrain.com, which will be a website. Then if you want to email us, have questions, we are on Instagram at Synaptic Symphony Game, and hello at theresilientbrain. It's hard to spell, theresilientbrain.com, but it's our email.
Well, thank you once again for joining me. Here's my question for you. After hearing about Synaptic Symphony, what real life skill or challenge or life experience would you love to see turned into a board game? Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on all the streaming services. And as always, be kind to each other. And let's play more games.
Yes. Can I ask another? If you want to comment an idea for a life event, as a board gamer, or we're still open to receive new ideas and illustrate them with our friend illustrator. So
Excellent.
yeah,
Excellent. So thank you again, Gail. Thank you so much.
thank you.